And then I'm like, okay,
Yeah, the shakes.
we can do this. Yes, because as long as it is on and I can see there's like battery life, no, forget it. I ain't letting you go for nobody. So sometimes I'll like literally let it just die.
Right.
Yes, I'll let it die and then I'm like, okay, fine, let's find something to do. Or I will put it on flight mode and listen to music instead, go to my iTunes and then just like listen to music. But it will be on flight mode and then I'll quickly go, wait, what if someone is trying to reach me?
What if it's an emergency?
What if it's an emergency? What is an emergency? But yeah, so most of the things, just recapping, since we started off with you, just recapping, I do get some messages in my inbox, in my DM, and at times even during the show, as the show is going on, I do get like positive feedback that the talks are helping. There was one time when I was doing another program on a Monday, and one person writes in and says, sure, Becky, I don't know where you find these people, but their messages are always interlinked and they're always talking about the same thing, but like in different versions of it. But it always just comes back to you are your own hindrance. You are the one who's doing it. Stop blaming everybody else and work on you. So the focus has really been on working on ourselves individually and then just sharing the good parts of ourselves with everybody else so everyone can have a piece.
Right.
Everybody gets, you know,
Everybody gets something.
everybody gets something and everyone gets to experience this new transformed person. So last week you were talking about knowing yourself and knowing yourself thoroughly so that anyway it doesn't look like it or whatever people come to tell you is not what you are taking. You must know thyself,
Right.
like through and through. And I had almost like jumped the gun a little bit because I was excited about a topic that I think most people should learn from, and that's learning from our failures and actually saying, hey, listen, there's actually an upside to failing. And as I was going through the notes, I was like, there is no way this has been sitting under my nose all this while and I had never
Yeah.
like mentioned it in my life.
Right.
Like how? Like how do I not see it right there, that there's an upside to failure? Yes, we do talk about failure, but the whole aspect of there's an upside. So can you just briefly tell us before we go into a break and then continue? Can you just briefly tell us what's in store for us with today's talk?
Thanks, Becky. Failure is such a touchy topic
Yeah.
because we take failure as if it's an entity that stands alone, like success. Success stands alone. It's independent, but failure is not, because failure is an aspect of what we then term success. So a lot of people who are afraid to fail, they're not actually afraid of with the failure aspect, but they're afraid of the fear that comes with the repercussions of what they assume failure brings.
No, the English jumped. Come again.
People are not afraid of, people should not be afraid to fail, but people are afraid of failure. Those are two different things. Failure is an entity of growth.
Okay.
The fear of it is the negative side.
So we shouldn't be afraid.
We shouldn't be afraid
Okay.
because we are going to fail.
So we are doing it afraid?
No. I think even from my personal experience, when I was afraid of failure, it's because I knew that I've come to the point where I'm supposed to now manifest what is expected of me at this stage. Are you afraid of failing a test? But are you afraid of failing the final exam? Yes. You see.
Yeah.
If we fail a test, we know that this is not the final thing. I can still learn from what I failed from. But when it's now the final exam, when we are now expected to express all our learnings, that's when fear kicks in because we missed the learnings.
So if we encompass and, take in all the learnings, put it into practice, like just inhale everything. By the time it is exam time, awuche, because you have taken in as much as you
could.
As you could.
Yeah.
So you just give it back.
Exactly. you're just expressing what was supposed to already be in you at that stage. So a lot of people, unfortunately, we go through all these stages in life, and we don't look back, reflect, write down the lessons. Remember last week we were talking about journaling. We don't take note of those mistakes and the learnings that came with whatever we experienced after the mistake. Hence the fear comes back when we're supposed to redo that thing.
Wow. 26 minutes past 1 o'clock. It is time for adulting. But before we continue with that, let's take a short break, and then we'll be back with Pedzi the Coach as we talk about the upside of failure. It's time to check your pulse.
Your pulse on 100.4 FM.
Not sure if I should call it coincidence or just this is how it was planned out. Our pulse check for today is about education. Education is what is left after you have forgotten everything. So when someone says, "Are you educated?" Yes, that bit of information that you have left is what we call as education, because you are going to forget certain things. Certain things are going to fall off. Things that you learned in grade 1 all the way up to university. Certain things are going to fall off. You're going to forget certain things. But the information that you have now is what we are calling education. So here comes the question. Are you educated?
What did you learn?
Hey, what did you learn? Education. After everything is gone.
After you're done learning.
After you're done learning.
Education.
Sure. So even with us now, with all these sessions, the information that I remain with will let me or you know whether Becky or Pedzi is educated. Or not.
Learning is tough. Learning is very tough. But I think I like the aspect of learning when we embrace growth.
When you embrace growth, I think everything has to do with the goal. Why are you learning the thing that you are learning? For what? What are you going to use it for? Are you just using it for the sake of knowledge? Because if it's for the sake of knowledge, you can allow a lot of things to follow.
BeckyK is on Capital 100.4 FM.
Adulting.
Welcome back to Capital 100.4 FM. It is time for adulting, and we've got Pedzi the Coach with us for today's edition and many other editions of Adulting on the Pulse. We are talking about the upside of failure. If you didn't know, now you know there is an upside to this thing called failure. Pedzi just broke it down a little bit and said, listen, don't be afraid to fail. Just do it, because you have soaked in all the information that you possibly could, and all you have to do now is pour it out when it is needed. So few entrepreneurs make it the first time they try. In fact, if you want to triple your success ratio, you might have to triple your failure rate. How true is this statement?
Entirely. It is extremely true. I like Thomas Edison.
Right.
He obviously created the bulb.
Yeah.
However,
Failed dismally a couple of times.
he says, well, he failed 10,000 times, apparently. But when, from the manuscripts based on his interview, then they asked, so how do you feel? He says, when I look at it, I didn't fail like 10,000 times. I learned 10,000 ways of not being able to get the result I wanted. So
I love it when they come up with like smart answers.
Me.
Like, no. I did not fail.
These were lessons.
These were lessons, and I learned 10,000 ways, well, 9,999 ways on how not to do it, and I nailed it on the 10,000th try.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow.
And then we write a story.
And then we write a story, like a whole book. So if I want triple the success, I must be prepared to fail 3 times over.
How I can say it is, if you want to succeed, you should be ready to fail a couple of times. The reason
Can failure be avoided, Pedzi?
No. It can't.
At all?
Impossible.
So even if I structure myself and I plan, and I say I'm going to do step 1, step 2, something is going to go wrong there.
Yes.
Or so it's supposed to.
It will. Not supposed to. It will. Too bad it's right. Now, would I be supposed to fail? It will.
Okay. Okay.
Do you know how to ride a bike?
Yes, I do.
Right. Did you, when you just got onto the bike immediately, did you start riding?
No.
You dropped a number of times.
Dude.
Several times.
And it was self-taught, hey? Yeah.
But what made you get back onto the bike?
Because I was like, if I could stay up for this long, I'm sure I can practice a little bit more and I'll be steady on it. Yeah.
And the excitement of knowing that
I can ride a bike.
Once I can ride a bike,
I can do anything.
I can get from point A to point B.
Exactly.
So your motivator is not, the bike in itself is not the motivation. It is what you can then do with it. So that's the thing with when you now look at failure. So your drive to achieve something should be more than your fear to fall. You get it? Yeah.
I see it.
So
I see it.
when you're riding a bike, when people get a bike, they're not excited about the machine. They're excited about the possibility of the machine. And failure is within that possibility because there are so many aspects that, firstly, there are aspects that you cannot control. The reason why failure is always going to happen is there are things you cannot control, but they concern you. And then there are things that you can control. So within the riding bike lesson, what can you control? You can control the speed at which you ride. You can control the rate at which you, or the way you balance. You can control. You cannot control the road. You cannot control a driver who whizzes past you. But now, because you experience the guy who cuts you off as you're riding, and you fall, you get up, you're like, okay. So there's a possibility that in as much as I'm a very good rider or I'm learning to ride, there is going to be someone who may cut me off. So automatically, your mind is triggered to now start observing beyond just you riding the bike.
Now you're checking your peripherals, you're checking your surroundings. How can I be safe? If someone does come through to cut me, how can I avoid it and not fall off?
Exactly. Because failure is not necessarily within our areas in the areas we can influence. Right? Failure lingers around the gray areas where we're supposed to expand into. You get? So for example, if you go and you do and you moderate a session and there are very high level business executives,
Right.
let's say, and it's a topic you're not familiar with. You've done the research, you've read it. There are times in there that you're gonna mess up. But after that session, you're not gonna be like, oh my god, and shut up with the MC ever again.
I know.
You're
I
like,
know.
what can make me better
At this
for
thing.
this particular setting again?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you start reading into it. You start looking around for people who are into it.
Yes.
You see?
See me snapping.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing. I'm agreeing. I can concur. There was one time. It was during a coaching session. Now I'm pretty good at talking about certain subjects, but give me a topic like you said. I'll probably research on it, and I will be able to like talk to people about it.
Right.
So I was given to talk about money, and I'm thinking, dude, I'm learning also. I want someone. I want someone to teach me about money, but I couldn't be like, no, I don't know how to do that, because people have this belief that if Becky says it, it makes sense. So I went and I learned the basic stuff, like they would definitely need to know this, they need to know this, they need to know this, they need to know this. And I had to show like a budget. So I also had to put my life out there and show them whether I have a budget or not, like how I save or not, and the mistakes I'm making with money and all of that.
Right.
I remember that session so well. It wasn't terrible, it was horrific. It on my end, because I wasn't sure if what I was sharing made sense. A few people came and they were like, oh, that was so, and I'm thinking, no, don't lie.
Don't lie to me.
And I was thinking, no, don't lie. I literally just, shared notes, and I wasn't expressive in it. But I didn't stop there. I went and I continued to learn, just like what you said.
Right.
I went and I said, okay, how can I express this thing better? And I went and I found spreadsheets that were easier for me to break down and explain, that were practical, that I put into practice. So the moment I put that thing into practice, it became easier to teach.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it became easier to teach. So I wasn't afraid of the third time that I did it, now I was like,
I got this.
I got this.
Yeah.
I got this. So now with that in mind and with the drive, there's this inborn thing in us that wants to do good, that wants to do great. And then there's fear right in front of us that says, what are you doing? You can't do that. Or boys don't do that. Or girls don't do that. But there's that innate thing in us. It's there. That
Correct.
innate desire to be great. It's there. And then fear is like right next door. And saying, I don't wait for a good
Fear, especially when, okay, let's say it like this. Failure is a gatekeeper to growth. Failure is just a gatekeeper. Because there are certain places that are not for everyone. So gatekeepers test you to see if you are worth where you want to go.
Can the gatekeepers come in the form of human beings?
And most of the time they are, especially in our physical set, they're people. But we don't want to look at the gatekeeper say, no, I don't know how being they know.
Okay.
It's those that say you have to prove yourself. That kind of gatekeeper. A beautiful illustration is gym. Gym, there is a concept termed push to failure. Now, this is a beautiful illustration because my trainer says your muscle does not grow because you're good at doing several reps.
Okay.
It grows when you get to the reps that you're starting to fail. And your muscles start tearing inside. Because growing muscles is little tears that happen. And then your body is activated to say, we need to add more with protein to build more muscle.
Yeah.
So only until you fail certain reps or repetitions in a gym, which are the number of lifts you do, you will not grow. You can be in the gym and you do your 20 kgs for a year. You will not change. Your body will not change. It will solidify within the space you are. So that's when you see it looks pretty good and what.
Yeah.
But only when you take yourself to a place of failure, where you can't lift it up anymore, and you keep holding on. Actually, what they say is when you fail to lift the dumbbell, for instance, don't drop it. Keep holding it where you're failing. Because at that point, that's where growth is happening.
I wish I could just have this. Can you do like a separate audio for me that I can like put in my ear while I'm in gym?
Yeah.
And you're like, Becky, I know you're tired now, but don't drop it, girl.
At this stage, this is where growth happens.
This is when growth happens, you know. I'll even put like like an upbeat, background music to it, and just keep myself motivated. Because when I'm in the gym, of which I went back on Monday, I'm dying. Like literally, my trainer is like, "Oh, you've been away for 4 months. Let me show you what you have done to your body."
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, exercises that were easy for me to do, I'm now like, my goodness, is this my left arm or is this my foot? Like, what is happening? Do I have my arm in my foot? Like, what is happening? Like, week. And I get to points where I know that if I give up, I would have allowed my body to like control. So those moments, just like you mentioned, where you feel like, I want to give up. Does this imply also with livelihood, like real life situations? You are trying out a new business, you are starting out, and then you fail the first time, the second time. Do I keep going? Do I keep going? Although I can see I'm doing this thing and it's not working.
Right.
It's not working. What am I changing? But still at it.
So what tells you to keep going are the lessons within what you're doing. So, for example, you're doing business. Let's say you go and you apply for a tender or you apply for some funding and then you're denied.
Right.
If you live in the space of denial without the lesson, you'll come back again tomorrow and you fail in the same place. But if you learn from that, like there's a point I lost a contract and I asked, I said everything that I believed was this, and this is the problem we have. We exert everything we believe is sufficient enough for the thing that requires our manifestation.
Right.
But that may not be enough. And now we get crushed. So the people who get crushed in what they term failure is they believed that what they had to offer was enough. But what you want to get or where you're going has its own requirements. And failure, you can't know what you haven't experienced. So the in-between what you're trying to do and what you're trying to experience, that's where failure sits. And failure is the only teacher there. Failure is the teacher.
Failure is the teacher. 20 minutes to 2 o'clock. We're going to take an ad break. When we come back, please do send through your questions, your comments, or your contributions. Are you failing at something? How are you feeling about it? Where are you at this point? How can we assist? Pedzi the Coach is in studio, so you can send through your questions and he will help to the best of his ability. I'm sure he's failed a couple of times.
A lot.
So he knows what he's talking about. And if you haven't failed just as yet, wait. If they come, it's coming. It's coming.
Somebody loves you. Stephen McGollum Resort in partnership with
Oh, wow. These kids are back from school, guys.
They're in it. They're on the bus.
Did you just get a message? Is it random? I guess.
Oh man, radio is fun. All right, stand by.
$3 for person 12 years and below. Visit us at number 625 Stephen Magolas Road, off Chitumbiza Road, Waterfalls, Harare. Or call us on 0779 080 906 or 0719 080 906.
I thought this thing just.
Listen. Becky K is on Capital 100.4 FM.
Adulting.
We are back on the Pulse. If you're just joining us, welcome to the Pulse on Capital 100.4 FM. Harare is a heartbeat. My name is Becky K, and this session is called Adulting, and we do it every Thursday between 1 and 2 o'clock with Pedzi the Coach. Pedzi is an entrepreneur and an educator with over a decade of experience. See him gloat in his glory. Oh my goodness. Yes, gloating. Like, guys, I worked for this.
Moving on.
Yes, moving on. Moving on. But Pedzi, over a decade of experience, that is. I'm sure in that decade, there were some failures where you went through, or failures that you went through, and you look back and you were like, I'm not doing this. And then there was a voice that said, come on, Pedzi. Yeah.
So that is extremely true. And it happens so many times even in a day where I'm like, no, man. I think one major aspect of myself that I've managed to train myself in is, and I hope a lot of people can start getting the awareness from the statement, is that when we feel you need to kill the strong spirit of of entitlement. Yeah. Entitlement is, I've been doing this for 10 years, so I need to be good at this thing. And what entitlement does, it simply says, I've learned enough and I deserve to be here. But growth mentality says to you, it's been 10 years, bro. We've got 50 more years to go. So let's keep growing. Let's keep changing. Let's keep advancing. You see. So an example is within those 10 years,
Right.
I never did radio.
All?
I never did radio.
No way, Pedzi.
I just featured in maybe as a guest,
Okay.
but to actually,
Have like a program.
yeah, I never did that.
No way.
But if you recall, when I started talking to you, I was saying, and this was a number of months ago, I was like, Becky, I've got a full podcast system. Like, I can
Yes,
literally
I remember.
unbox it right now and have
and then get this thing going.
Yes. But because I didn't put myself in a space to practice.
Look at that.
You see.
Look at
You
that.
see. Because practice is controlled failure. So Usain Bolt will practice for 3.5 something years for those few seconds he runs and wins a gold medal. Now, if he was entitled from the first time he wins a gold medal, and he was like, I don't need to practice, I got this, I'm the fastest man in the world,
Come on.
he would fail. And he nearly,
Dismally.
Yeah, he nearly. There are times that he's lost races, but people know
All the wins.
the glory of the wins.
Yeah.
But not how he was not the fastest person out there. You see. So I would urge people to practice a lot, because practice is controlled failure. Such that when you're supposed to now exert yourself in the milestone that will take you to the next stage, you are certain of your capabilities and your capacity.
How does one take care of themselves during that moment of failure? Do we even call it a moment of failure? Is it a phase?
Yeah.
You mentioned that at times these failures can happen like 4 or 5 times a day. Like you fail at this, you fail at that. What's the process? Who am I surrounding myself with while I'm going through this process? Who am I not talking to? What am I saying? What am I not saying? Just to keep my mind sane and not go crazy.
The very first thing that will protect you in that season of quote unquote failure is your North Star. The thing that pulls you towards it.
Right.
So what do you want to eventually become? Not what do you want to eventually do. Because doing changes, becoming doesn't. So all of us at this stage, we are becoming something.
Wait, I found an Instagram post.
Oh God. that's IP.
Hey! Shut to the parade. Alright, come again.
I don't even remember what I said.
No. Nigel, play it back.
Rewind, please.
Rewind, Facebook.
So
What? Doing?
So there's a
Becoming.
difference between becoming and doing. A lot of us, we define ourselves by what we do, but not what we're becoming. So when we have a North Star that pulls us towards something we're becoming, what we do can change, but who we're becoming should not change. The ultimate BeckyK should not change, and that guides you within now the decisions. Even when something that is like a failure or a speed bump happens, who you're becoming talks to you.
So who I'm becoming is the end goal.
Yeah,
This is the end goal.
Yeah.
And we are saying the end goal shouldn't change.
it shouldn't.
But because if you say I'm doing this, the doings can change. But your becoming is your true north. That
Yes.
is what you are drawing yourself to.
Exactly. And let's bring it back into something that is relatable.
Right.
1 p.m. we want to do a show called The Pulse. That is the becoming, right? The doing is I need to drive from my office to here. But if Adibeni Road is congested, that's a doing. I can shift the doing. I can go either via Mbari. The becoming is not going to change. If the Mbari route is congested, I rewind and I come back and I come via Coventry side. Like I was telling you, that I discovered a new road.
Dude, that's my road right there. That's my road.
But look at this. Imagine if someone who's gone down that road had told me prior to say, Pedzi, there's a road you can use that will reduce the time you will take to get to a place, that will reduce the experience with traffic. My doing will change and my doing becomes faster. So that's why people need trainers, they need coaches, because they've walked the path, they've done the doing, and they're helping you become. Make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely.
So when the people you coach in confidence, the methodology will change based on the person, because you can't change the
Of course,
person,
yes.
but you can change the process. So failure is within the process. Fear is the stop sign within the process that tells you, this you don't go forward. And no one gives you that. Only you give you that. So you have to be in constant communication within what you eventually want to become. You want to become such and such. That guides you. But beyond that, let's make it also a bit more practical.
Okay.
Since we started the past, there's something I've always loved saying. The 3 Ps. People, places, and practices. So in becoming, and also in terms of reducing the chances of failure, you need to surround yourself with the right people. Not just people who are excited about being within you, being within your space, but people who are excited about where you are, who you are becoming. People who can relate to that. Those people will also see the speed humps before you see them. You get it?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you are the wrong people, they will help you fester within the point of failure and tell you, they'll what's the word? They'll justify. They'll help you justify your entitlement. Say, no, I can't do it because it's the economy. Hey, economy, I do it. But how is it that there are some people who are making it within that same economy?
Come on.
And now we are allowing the people who are energizing your,
like they fuel
accepted.
it. They fuel it. Like the moment you speak a language they understand, no, they are on it like piranhas. And they are on it and like, yeah, very economy. But the moment you speak the opposite of that,
those people help you fester within failure.
right.
They help you sit in it and get comfortable and say, I can't do this.
Can those people be avoided?
They should be avoided.
Can they be avoided?
They must be
Pedzi,
avoided.
can they be avoided? Should be, would be, coulda, woulda, shoulda, woulda. Can they be avoided?
Shows it's optional. I am saying it is not optional. You should kick them out.
You don't have a choice
Cut
on
them
this one.
off. Do not even explain yourself.
All right, so this is Nigel. We work together, right? He's in digital. He makes sure that my show is going well. He's making sure that people on Facebook are getting this information. Then there's moments when we're off air and we're just talking yayas, right? Then I pass a comment. Maybe I'm feeling defeated that day. If Nigel supports my defeat, am I kicking Nigel out?
Not physically, emotionally. You build walls to protect you. You remember that session we spoke about boundaries? You create boundaries around people who are not pushing you forward.
So Nigel, when I share stuff, make sure you don't support my crazy. Make sure you don't support my crazy.
But it also comes in understanding where the person is, because each person, as they speak, you know where to place them in your life. The biggest problem we also have is not knowing where we should place people. The more we fail to place people in areas of your life, you are going to put them in the wrong place, and they're going to drain what you have.
Talk to me, man.
They're going to drain who you are. They're going to pull you back from where you're supposed. They're going to divert you from where you're supposed to go. Just like, for example, family. There's a quote that you can't choose family. Yes, but you can choose where to place them.
Yeah.
And when you're deliberate about placement, you also are deliberate about what you listen to from them.
What's the one thing about failure that you wish you had learned earlier?
That I'm not alone. That I'm not alone, and I have to prove that I am. You know how we sometimes speak of air, and I allow myself to be vulnerable? That exchange, it ignites the flame to fuel me to become. So you automatically, so if I knew, the unfortunate thing is, we don't know who to tell or who to be vulnerable to. And when you're vulnerable to the wrong person or the wrong entity, it either quickens your failure, it either solidifies your failure, or it either retards your growth. If you're in a setting where even the practices, the other piece, like practices. Had I known that if, those comments on Instagram, like, I wake up at 5 a.m., I do this, I stretch, and I read a book. That is real to many people.
I know, it pains me.
But comment section,
I know.
It's not for me. No, nice. It's because we've not experienced, we've not encountered someone who is actually doing it.
I think, okay, back on the, let's just take it back to the comment section. What I picked up about the comment section with motivational videos juxtaposed. So you've got a motivational video here, you've got the comment section on the other side. If you look at some of the comments, people are just typing, Pedzi. They are just typing for the sake of, let me just say the opposite.
Right.
For the sake of, let me just say the opposite. Deep down somewhere in that person's heart, they desire that lifestyle. They desire to be doing what that person has posted. Even if it's just content creation, they desire it. Why I say so is because I used to be very sarcastic.
Right.
And then I had to switch my sarcasm to being more charismatic and not as sarcastic.
Right.
I would see maybe a woman with 4 little toddlers.
Right.
And I'd be like, woo, it can't be me.
It looks like work.
It looks like work. It looks like hectic. But I'm thinking, but Becky, don't you want to be a mom? You're like, yeah, I want to be a mom. So why are you saying it can't be you? What are you afraid of?
Yeah.
What are you saying? What are you speaking into? What barrier have you just created? So most of the time when people comment in the comment section, they think they're being funny.
Right.
They think they're being sarcastic until life hits them like with the real thing. So this is you commenting on Pedzi's post. Pedzi's up at 5 a.m. He's at the gym. He's done his coffee. First meeting is at 7:30. You know, like everything is, you know, structured. And then someone says, what. Then you, couple of years pass by and your life is still in this rut. It's still in that, it's in that same loop. You will think about that comment you placed. You will think about it. You thought you were funny. Because I also want people to like my comment.
Right.
So it better be funny.
Yeah.
It better be sarcastic. So most of the time we don't push a positive message in the comment section because our minds are not wired to support positive.
Right.
Our minds are wired to support funny comments, sarcastic.
It makes us feel good.
It makes, yeah.
It's that dopamine. We are addicted to quick bursts of excitement, of satisfaction. We love, we can't delay gratification.
Oh, man.
We can't. And that's social media. There are times where, and I used to have that problem, where I was like, what if I post something and then only 2 people? Those 2 are who you're supposed to
Thank
be.
you. I got over that Kudara. I mean, I would post, right?
Yeah.
And I would watch that post like, okay, 5 likes. Come on, let's just get to 20. Let's go. And then I'd, 15. Okay, let's go. Now, I don't care whether it gets 2,000 likes, 100 likes, 500, 600. I'm just like, whoever has seen it, it was meant for you.
Yes.
It really, really was meant for you.
Right.
And then there are times when I really work with the algorithm and all of that just for the boosting of the page.
Yeah.
But 99.9% of the time, I don't care about the likes and all of that, unless if I'm getting like money before it. Then I will care about the likes and stuff. But that whole aspect of learning to divide it fairly and honestly with yourself, you won't just comment.
Yeah.
You won't.
You won't. Becky, we experience life in cycles, but we move in stages. So let's say we're supposed to move in 5 stages of our life.
I'm taking notes.
If the first cycle was primary, first cycle, let's say it's ECD. I want to give an illustration so that it's more practical. First cycle is ECD. Boom, you're done with ECD, you do your number of years, you move on to grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, up to 7. That's a cycle. The next stage at grade 7 is the testing stage to take you to the next stage. If you fail in that grade 7 stage, you go back into the cycle. If you win, if you conquer that stage, you go into the next,
Right.
or into the next.
Right.
Every stage you do not learn from. In every stage you don't capture the lessons and the learnings, you will still remain in that cycle. So a lot of people are always like, why is it that I experience the same kind of man? Oh man, dog, you're in the same cycle.
Why did you whisper it? Say it loud.
Come on in love, regularly. Get out of the cycle.
I always say to women who say men are dogs, you are going to meet them. You are. And then don't complain.
And you're in a cycle.
Yes, you're in a cycle. The words that you speak out. So we have a few seconds to wrap this thing up. I think I'm going to be naughty here. We're going to go to the 2 o'clock news. Pedzi, please stay with us so you can wrap this up for us. This was really, really good. Pulses, thank you so much for tuning in. It is 2 o'clock. Stand by for the news. Send through your comments, your questions, and your contributions. When we come back from the news, We'll get into them.